Here's a professional paraphrase version of your transcript based on your instructions. Have you ever noticed that some people resent you? Not for anything you've done to them, but simply because you were kind? Why does your gentleness meet resistance? Your softness provokes suspicion, and your empathy invites silent punishment. This isn't a reflection of you being at fault. It's about how your light reveals what others refuse to acknowledge in themselves. True kindness is not weakness. It is a mirror. When someone has spent their life guarding their pain, building armor against abandonment, and masking insecurities with harshness, your kindness feels threatening. It exposes their discomfort with vulnerability, showing them a way of being they never allowed themselves to embrace. Open, soft, and receptive. And because they cannot comprehend it, they react with dislike. Carl Jung explained that projection is the foundation of human blindness. When someone harbors unjustified hatred toward you, it rarely has anything to do with you personally. You become a canvas for their unconscious projections. Your grace challenges their resentment. Your patience clashes with their need for control. Your warmth presses against the cold barriers they've erected for survival. From this tension, their hatred emerges, not from reality, but from unresolved past experiences. Many people live within unexamined narratives. They equate kindness with manipulation, softness with danger, and love with obligation. If their experience of love always came with conditions, your unconditional generosity feels foreign, sometimes even threatening. Here's a professional, paraphrased version of your transcript, following your instructions. If someone was raised to see affection as transactional, then your freely given kindness can feel suspicious. Their reaction isn't truly toward you. It's to the reflection of something unfamiliar behind your presence. It may seem cruel to be punished for simply existing without harm, yet this is a deeply human pattern. Some people struggle to accept kindness because they never learn to receive it. They mistake safety for boredom, calm for emptiness, and when offered love that doesn't wound, they become uneasy because pain feels like home. A mature woman recognizes this reality. Not everyone will respond to your goodness with gratitude. Some project their inner struggles, others respond with fear, and some with outright dislike. Accepting your kindness would force them to face the absence of it in their own lives, and not everyone is ready for that confrontation. Even your innocent presence can create discomfort. This is why empathy must be balanced with discernment. While your heart may wish to heal, your soul must learn to protect itself. Carl Jung referred to this as individuation, the process of no longer abandoning yourself in pursuit of being loved. You come to understand that not all kindness is welcomed, not every broken soul wants to be mended, and sometimes the most profound act of care is stepping away. You are not required to justify your goodness to those determined to misunderstand it. You are not obliged to remain in spaces where your silence is seen as weakness or your compassion as manipulation. You are allowed to be kind and absent. You can give and then step back, particularly when generosity is met with contempt. Some will resent you simply because they cannot control you. Your kindness cannot be exploited, your peace cannot be disturbed, and your presence cannot be owned. Here's a professional, paraphrased version of your latest transcript, following your instructions. For those obsessed with control, your freedom can feel threatening. They seek a reaction, not a reflection. They want a compliance, not your true self. Many women wonder why their love is met with punishment or why their tenderness attracts harshness. But it isn't tenderness that invites harm. It's unguarded access. When kindness lacks boundaries, it becomes a mirror placed too close for comfort. Those who struggle with self-hatred may strike that mirror, not realizing they're destroying the only encounter with truth they've known. Being deeply kind carries the risk of misunderstanding. But it is not your responsibility to shrink so others feel secure, nor to dim your light, so they are not overwhelmed. A woman who has faced her own shadows knows this. True kindness does not retreat. It is strong, grounded, and knows when to step away. Understanding projection is essential. When someone calls your boundaries selfish, they are revealing their sense of entitlement. When they label your peace as arrogance, they are exposing their inner chaos. When they interpret your silence as guilt, they are reflecting their own noise. Allow their words to pass through you. They are never truly directed at you. They are a mirror of the healing they have yet to undertake. In a world fearful of genuine connection, the kind soul may be isolated, Yet this solitude is not a curse. It is a path. A woman who consistently chooses kindness without losing herself becomes quietly, undeniably powerful. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, carefully following all your instructions and maintaining the original structure and length, not because of what she gives, but because of what she refuses to give up: her truth, her limits, her spirit. So the next time someone pulls away from your gentleness, don't question your light. Instead, consider their shadows. Don't ask, "What did I do wrong?" Ask, "What did I reveal?" Often, hatred is simply someone's unresolved pain reacting to your wholeness. There are people who claim to want closeness, yet push away anyone who comes too near. They speak about connection, but their hearts are protected by emotional barriers. When someone like you appears, someone whose warmth could soften years of inner cold, they react defensively, not because you harmed them, but because you reminded them how deeply disconnected they have become. Your kindness is not received as a gift. It disrupts the illusion of control they have carefully maintained for years. A mature woman learns to recognize this pattern without making it personal. The moment you stop absorbing someone else's chaos as your responsibility, you begin to reclaim your strength. You realize that not every emotional response belongs to you. Not every distant reaction is yours to fix. There's a clear distinction between compassion and self-sacrifice. Your soul was never meant to be consumed by another person's unresolved wounds. One quality that distinguishes an irresistible woman is her refusal to be emotionally controlled by guilt disguised as love. She has taught herself to identify when affection is offered only when convenient, withdrawn when challenged, and followed by manipulation when she notices the inconsistency. She has learned to read what lies beneath the surface, not just the words spoken, but the silence between them, not only the actions shown, but the intentions that drive them. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, maintaining the original structure, length, and key arguments while refining clarity and flow. She recognizes the soul behind the smile, and she refuses to accept partial love disguised as complete promises from those still trapped in their own wounds. Her clarity can feel overwhelming. She becomes a living contradiction to their beliefs. How can she be deeply kind yet firmly grounded, gentle yet unavailable, open yet impossible to control? They label her cold because she refuses to break. They call her arrogant because she will not beg. But the truth is far simpler. She has spent too much time suffering in the name of love, and she has discovered that restraint carries a strength only the emotionally mature understand. The strength to stay grounded in chaos. The strength to love without losing identity. The strength to remain soft without becoming a doormat. This woman does not raise her voice to validate herself. Her silence communicates enough. She does not justify her depth to those who dismiss it. She withdraws, and her absence becomes a response. She understands the quiet paradox of kindness. The more authentic it is, the more unsettling it becomes for those who are unhealed. Genuine kindness is not performance. It reflects truth. It suggests that living without pretense is possible, and that reality can be uncomfortable. Not everyone is prepared to see themselves without a mask, so they reject the reflection and resent the one holding it. Another defining trait of the irresistible woman is her capacity to release without bitterness. She does not exhaust herself trying to punish those who could not value her. She does not resent those who projected their wounds onto her love. She simply lets go, not because she is indifferent, but because she understands that her energy is valuable and refuses to keep investing it where it is not honored. Her detachment is not coldness. It is respect. It reflects the awareness that love cannot grow where the soul is unseen, that kindness must never become self-abandonment, and that a woman must guard her peace as carefully as sacred ground, without anger, but with steady and unwavering clarity. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, preserving the original structure, length, and core message while refining clarity and flow. There are women who spend years trying to become lovable by making themselves smaller, quieter, and more agreeable. But a woman who is truly irresistible has stopped asking how to be loved and started asking how to be authentic. And in that shift, everything changes. She no longer attracts attention. She attracts alignment, not admirers, but equals, not empty praise, but honesty. The soul recognizes the difference between affection that demands compliance and love that respects independence. A mature woman understands that any relationship requiring her to compromise her integrity is not love. It is performance, and she is no longer willing to perform. She has released the need to earn what should be given freely. She does not create distance to punish others. She creates space to respect herself. There is no hostility in her absence, only awareness. The awareness that when peace is repeatedly disrupted, remaining present is no longer an act of kindness. She does not walk away to provoke a reaction. She walks away to protect what matters. The more she trusts her inner voice, the less she depends on external validation. This may be her most defining habit. Steady trust in her own perception. She no longer debates obvious warning signs. She no longer ignores her instincts to maintain appearances. She trusts herself. And through that trust, she becomes steady and firm. When you stop pleading to be understood, you begin to feel stability beneath you, grounded, secure, and unshaken. This woman carries herself with that sense of stability. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, carefully maintaining the original structure, length, and key arguments while refining clarity and tone. She is not free from pain, but she is no longer controlled by it. She carries both sorrow and wisdom in balance, and through that transformation, she becomes unforgettable. So if others resent you for your kindness, allow them to. Their resentment reflects their wounds more than it reflects your value. Let your kindness remain steady. Let your boundaries stay firm. And above all, let your soul remain your own. A woman who embodies true maturity holds a quality many overlook. She no longer explains herself to those determined to misinterpret her. There comes a stage in her growth when she stops distributing her energy carelessly, like paper scattered in the wind. She understands that not everyone receives truth as insight. Some perceive it as a threat. So she becomes intentional with her words, offering them only where they can take root and create something meaningful. Silence becomes her refuge. For those who attempt to control through confusion, her clarity feels confrontational. They may criticize her character, question her tone, or distort her story to protect their fragile pride. Yet she remains steady. She understands that truth, especially when delivered calmly, can unsettle those who depend on distortion. Her refusal to react becomes a quiet form of strength. Her composure becomes resistance. Her calm presence is power expressed with restraint. One of her most defining habits is the discernment she uses in choosing who gains proximity to her life. Access is not freely granted. It is built through consistency, emotional safety, and mutual growth. She no longer welcomes chaos into her space out of politeness. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, maintaining the original structure, length, and essential arguments while refining clarity and flow. She no longer gives her attention to those who romanticize emotional instability. Her space is sacred, and her time is valuable. She invests both with careful discernment. This woman has faced her own darkness, not once, but repeatedly. She has examined the roots of her patterns and comforted the younger version of herself who once accepted crumbs and called it love. She has cried in silence over what she tolerated, and she has chosen to forgive herself fully. That forgiveness, not the illusion of flawlessness, is what makes her truly radiant. She does not present her healing as armor, but as authenticity. She is no longer impressed by charm without integrity. She looks beyond charisma and recognizes repeated behaviors. She no longer mistakes attention for intimacy or control for consistency. If a man cannot meet her at the level of her truth, she wishes him well and continues forward. Her life is not a waiting space for someone else to become ready. She is no longer available for untapped potential. To some, this makes her seem intimidating. But intimidation is often insecurities standing before sovereignty. She does not use her growth to overpower others. She simply refuses to diminish herself. And those who depend on others feeling small to feel significant will struggle with her presence. Not because she seeks conflict, but because she stands in truth. And truth naturally challenges what is false. Her resilience is quiet. It does not seek recognition or require an audience. It shows in the way she rises after betrayal. Again, in the way she says no without guilt. In the way she allows herself to laugh freely. Here is your professionally paraphrased script, preserving length, structure, and key points while refining clarity and flow. Not because everything in life is perfect, but because she no longer expects life to shield her from pain. She understands that pain is not the enemy. Self-abandonment is. There is no drama in her departure. When a space no longer honors her, she leaves with the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needs to prove her worth. Her absence is not punishment. It is clarity. She wishes no harm, only withdraws her light where it is unappreciated. And it is in that absence that others come to understand the true value of her presence. The mature woman does not cling to relationships out of nostalgia. She knows that sharing a past with someone does not entitle them to her future. She grieves without reopening old doors. She understands that closure is a gift she can give herself. She does not need explanations or endings handed by others. Her peace requires no permission. Her energy is no longer scattered. It is focused, refined, and whole. When she loves, it is with the depth of someone who has known loneliness and chosen love regardless. Her love is never reckless, never a way to fill a void. It is an offering, not a plea. And if it is not received with respect, it is withdrawn without resentment. She knows some people only love you when you make yourself small enough to fit their comfort zone, but she has outgrown such cages. Her wings are wide, her spirit expansive, and she no longer twists herself into roles that betray her essence. She flies, even if it means flying alone. A woman who walks in this level of self-honesty is not trying to please. She seeks peace. She no longer performs. She no longer tempers her voice to prevent others from feeling insecure. She has sacrificed her truth before, and the wound still remembers. Now she protects her authenticity like a sacred flame. Yes, some may resent her for being too quiet, too discerning, too unbothered. But she knows that hatred often reflects recognition twisted by fear. When you stop being who others want you to be, they grieve the illusion, not the real you. Here's your professionally paraphrased version, keeping the original length, structure, and key points intact while refining flow and clarity. The real woman does not grieve illusions. She grieves once, and then she rebuilds. There comes a moment in a woman's life when her reflection no longer seeks permission, not from men, not from society, not even from her own inner critic. She sees herself fully, not as a project to fix, but as a landscape to honor. Every line on her face, every scar on her heart, every silence she endured becomes a sacred mark of passage. She no longer hides her depth to make others comfortable. She simply exists, and that is enough. One of her most transformative habits is refusing to chase. She understands that energy speaks louder than words, and anything that is truly hers will not require exhaustion. She does not pursue love, respect, or validation. She walks with intention, with care, with dignity. Because a woman who knows her worth understands that her presence is a gift, and not everyone has earned the right to receive it. The irresistible woman has been burned, not once, but many times. She has been betrayed by those she trusted, abandoned by those she supported, and misunderstood by those she loved sincerely. Yet she does not wear bitterness as armor. She lets it go. She refuses to become what once harmed her. Instead, she transforms pain into wisdom. Her voice may now be softer, but its truth resonates more powerfully than ever. She has unlearned the myth that gentleness demands sacrifice, that softness means being used, or that love requires silence. She knows that true softness is a deliberate, radical choice, and it is never given indiscriminately. Here's your professionally paraphrased version, keeping the original length, structure, and key points while improving clarity and flow. Her love has become discerning. She invests only where there is fertile ground, not onto stone. She nurtures those who grow, not those who drain. Many misinterpret her distance as coldness, but her distance is a form of prayer, a form of protection, a way of saying, I will no longer betray myself to make others comfortable. She does not seek revenge. She seeks alignment. She does not explain her boundaries. She simply lives by them. In doing so, she commands a respect that cannot be faked. When a man meets her, he may initially feel drawn, pulled toward her presence like gravity. But if he has not done his inner work, her truth will unsettle him. She will not play roles, soothe his ego, or mold herself to meet his expectations. She demands authenticity, not performance, intimacy, not control. And for many, that standard is too high. She has made peace with that. She does not need everyone to love her. She only needs to love herself enough to step away from anything that dims her. Her inner peace is non-negotiable. She has felt the cost of betraying herself for connection, and she has chosen never to pay it again. Her solitude is no longer punishment. It is a temple. There is a healing silence in her, a presence that purifies, a gaze that sees through all pretense. She speaks less but communicates more. She no longer reacts. She observes. That stillness becomes her power. It unsettles those who thrive on chaos, but she does not live for stimulation. She lives for truth, depth, and divine resonance. One of her most vital habits is forgiveness, not for others, but for herself. She releases not because they deserve peace, but because she does. She knows that holding on to anger is like drinking poison, hoping it hurts someone else. So she lets it go, not easily, but fully, and in that release, she rises. You feel when she enters a room, not because she is loud, but because she is real. Her energy does not beg, it commands. Without effort, she shifts the atmosphere. Not because she tries, but because she has arrived, fully, unapologetically, completely. She no longer asks if she is too much. She simply exists, trusting that the right souls will meet her there. Some women wait to be chosen. Others choose. The latter do not fear solitude. They do not shrink for love. They do not perform for praise. Here's your professionally paraphrased script, keeping the original structure, length, and essence intact. They live from a place of deep, grounded knowing, and that knowing cannot be taken, only reflected. The woman who has come home to herself does not chase. She attracts. She does not plead. She blesses. She no longer measures her worth by who stays or who leaves. Her value is inherent, timeless, and unshakable. She is not for everyone, and she no longer wishes to be. She moves with mystery, speaks with clarity, and loves without losing herself. She has become her own home, her own peace, her own source, and that, above all, is why she is unforgettable. The mature woman is irresistible, not for what she does, but for what she no longer needs to prove. She has stopped apologizing for her standards. She has stopped offering herself as a sacrifice. She has remembered the person she was before the world tried to define her, and in that remembering, she became unstoppable. The woman who knows her worth does not chase. She chooses.